And I know people may laugh at this, but if you notice that the new American dollar or monetary paper system is now colored like Europe.
Oh, I didn't notice that, but one, and that's another sign, one currency. David, how are you doing tonight? Hello.
David, you there?
I'm doing pretty good.
Hey, David.
You know,
Okay, I recognize your voice, David.
I know. You guys have mixed feelings about me.
Yes, we do.
Well, he does.
Okay.
I do. Hey, by the way, did you try and get in touch with that lady who called up a few weeks?
What I'm calling about was last week's call of Sherry.
That was, yeah, that's what I'm talking. That was
Remember?
2 weeks
Two
ago.
weeks ago.
No, that was last week. And
No, I called her. It's been 2 weeks, believe
well,
me.
all right, whatever. You know, I'm not going to argue with you, but I followed up on that because that's
Did you
what
get
I
to talk
do.
with her?
Yeah.
They wouldn't let us through for some reason.
Well, I did. I got to talk to her.
Okay, and?
Wonderful.
And I talked to her about the ability she had to.
Use a computer.
Well, it's weird. Why I got to turn you guys off here? Let me do this. Okay, now it's easier to talk.
Yes, it is.
Sherry was not allowed to use the internet, as you may recall.
Mm-hmm.
And
by the way,
now I have
for our
case
viewers, David,
management
Sherry had a horse accident 8 years ago and is paralyzed. So go ahead. I just want to let the people who are listening know who she is, kind of.
Yeah, Sherry now has the ability to look at the internet and figure out what she wants to do for her own salvation.
And you said you were an advocate to the disability. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Were you able to line her up with any sort of?
Sounds like he did it.
or-
It sounds
I
like
talked to a case manager.
Wonderful. And what happened? Can you
Well,
help?
what happened was that they are looking into this and making sure that Sherry can do what she wants to do, which is important for all people with disabilities.
Absolutely, that is great news. That is great. Now, in relation to what we're talking about here, do you have anything you want? I'd like to show a film clip, and I'm glad you brought that up in call. But do you have anything to relate in relation to philosophical, spiritual, and one world government?
Well, not yet, but
Okay.
I'll look at your film clip and see if I have something to say.
Sounds good. Guys, let's get ready to run that first film clip. Thank you, David, for calling. This first film clip is about 4 minutes long, as I recall, so pretty short. A lot of quotes, real powerful. So let's run that. We'll see you guys in about 4 minutes.
World government has been declared by some of the greatest leaders and influential minds of the last century. The focus of their desire is supposedly world peace. Albert Einstein said, mankind's desire for peace can be realized only by the creation of a world government. Einstein also declared, quote, there is no salvation for civilization or even the human race other than the creation of a world government. Meanwhile, Nehru, the leader of India during the days of Mahatma Gandhi, declared, I have long believed the only way peace can be achieved is through world government. We have arrived at a stage where the next step must comprise a world and all its states submitting to the authority of world organization. Mortimer Adler said, world peace is impossible without world government. And Sir Winston Churchill declared, the creation of an authoritative world order is the ultimate aim toward which we must strive. French President Charles de Gaulle seemed adamant when he said, nations must unite in a world government or perish. Walter Cronkite said concerning nuclear devastation that, quote, if we are to avoid that catastrophe, a system of world order, preferably a system of world government, is mandatory. The proud nations someday will see the light, and for the common good and their own survival, yield up their precious sovereignty, just as America's 13 colonies did 2 centuries ago. In 1992, Strobe Talbot, President Clinton's Deputy Secretary of State, was quoted in Time magazine saying, "In the next century, nations as we know it will be obsolete. All states will recognize a single global authority. National sovereignty wasn't such a great idea after all." In December 2001, Edward Widmer, the president of the Illinois Division of the United Nations Association of the United States, said, quote, "Within 10 years' time, you're going to see the beginning of an embryonic world order." Britain's Prime Minister, Tony Blair, said, quote, "Globalization has transformed our economies and our working practices. It is a political and security phenomenon. We are all internationalists now, whether we like it or not. We are witnessing the beginnings of a new doctrine of international community." While the quote that seems to consolidate them all comes from Robert Mueller, former Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations, who said, "We must move as quickly as possible to a one-world government, a one-world religion, under a one-world leader." As to what manner of leadership is under consideration, consider this quote from Paul Henry Spaak, the former Secretary General of NATO, who in 1957 said, "What we want is a man of sufficient stature to hold the allegiance of the people and to lift us out of the economic morass into which we are sinking. Send us such a man, and be he God or the devil, we will receive him." Late in the 18th century, a group known as the Jacobins, who brought about the French Revolution, said they were seeking to establish what they called a universal republic or a new world order. That very phrase has come to represent the entire march toward world government, the coming last day empire, spoken of by the highest offices in all the world. Robert Kennedy, the former U.S. Attorney General in 1967, said, "All of us will ultimately be judged on the effort we have contributed to building a new world order."
Welcome back to Truth Seekers. Bet you some of those quotes surprised you. They surprised me when I first heard them. Didn't they surprise you, a couple in there?
Well, they all mention the same things over and over and over again. In order to bring peace in this world, we need to submit and yield to a one world government.
Right, right. We showed film clips in the past, in Megiddo 2, the second set of this film, talking about a new world order and coming under a spiritual umbrella. Barbara Marx Hubbard was talking about this emerging world order, where they're going to wipe out a quarter of the planet's population, and she's a major New Age advocate, channels spirits. Marilyn Williamson, again, who teaches in Oprah Winfrey's satellite radio station every day of the week, channeling information from a spirit that claimed to be Jesus, and everything he says counters what Jesus says. Jesus says in the Bible, and that his disciples who were with him for 3 years, totally contrary to that, changing it all around. And they say that they're going to wipe out a quarter of the Earth's population, this whole New Age viewpoint, and there's many involved in that. I wonder how many in government are involved in that. I know that, let's see, Hillary Clinton Rodham said that she would get messages from Eleanor Roosevelt from the dead and through, spirits, and we had showed her with a shaman, witch doctor praying over her and her eyes closed and whatever. Well, we got a phone call. We got 2 phone calls. Okay, first one was Joseph. Joseph, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, hi, Mike and Jay. How are you guys?
Hey,
I'm doing
Joseph.
pretty good.
Good, thanks.
Hey, I believe we are living in the end times. I mean, I think you guys show some really good evidence for that, and we just need to look around and smell the roses, as it were, to see that we are. But you know what? In reality, I think we're all in the end times. I mean, we're not going to live forever here on this earth, are we?
No, there's an appointed time to be born and an appointed time to die.
Yeah, and I'm pushing 50, and I think if I do everything to my body, I'm probably going to live another 25 years. If I take good care of it. But God willing,